Good morning. This is the presentation of our Group 4 STS, which is about science and technology. But today, we will not be explaining the basic meaning of science and technology, but rather the definitions or conceptual frameworks of science and technology. These definitions provide a structured understanding of their roles, functions, and distinctions.
Starting with science as a process which is concerned with discovering and understanding relationships between observable phenomena through systematic inquiry, experimentation, and the development of theories that explain these relationships. It can be divided into different categories such as observation, which is the noticing and describing events or phenomena in a careful and systematic way. Hypothesis formation, which is the creating testable statement or prediction based on observations. Experimentations that conducts controlled tests to validate or refute hypotheses. Analysis, which is the interpretation of experimental data to draw conclusions. And lastly, peer review and publication, which is about sharing findings with scientific community for evaluation and validation.
An example of science as a process is study of antibiotic mechanisms. It involves researching of how antibiotics function to combat bacterial infections. This includes examining the mechanisms by which antibiotics disrupt bacterial processes, such as cell wall synthesis, protein production, or DNA replication. As bacteria can develop resistance to antibiotics, making infections harder to treat. Scientists can identify how bacteria evade patients and develop strategies to counteract resistance by studying how antibiotics work. By understanding how antibiotics work and their limitations, healthcare providers can make informed decisions about prescribing them, ultimately helping to control the spread of resistant infections.
Moving on to the meaning of science as a product. Science as a product refers to the tangible outcomes or result of scientific inquiry. This can include theories, laws, models, and discoveries. For example, periodic table of elements. It represents the culmination of years of research and scientific discoveries about the elements, their properties, and how they interact. As a product, it organizes all known chemical elements into a structured format based on their atomic number, electron configuration, and chemical properties, which allows scientists and students to better understand and predict the behavior of elements.
Similarly to science, technology can also be defined as a process or a product. Technology as a process is a way to produce new things for a better way of living life. It is a cycle of development and innovation. An example can be a software development, which is the systematic approach to creating software application involves stages like requirements gathering, coding, testing, and deployment, ensuring the final product meets user needs. Software development is incredibly helpful in our lives for automation of tasks, enhanced communication, access to information, problem solving, and economic growth.
Finally, technology is a product which is a result or product of scientific concept. It is tangible by means of being a material product. Example for technology as a product is a 3D printer that creates three-dimensional objects by building them layer by layer from a digital design. It works through a process called additive manufacturing where materials like plastic, metal, or resin are deposited in precise layers to form a solid structure. A significant use of 3D printing is in medical applications, particularly for creating custom prosthetics. Traditional prosthetics can be expensive and time-consuming to produce, but 3D printers allow the creation of highly customized prosthetic limbs tailored to an individual's specific measurements.
And that's all for this presentation. Thank you for listening.